I think we are ready to get this party started.
Yes, indeed.
Welcome to Universal Entrepreneurs Toastmasters. My name is Abhijit Joshi. Before we proceed, everyone, please mute your mics. Today is a fun day. Today we have Ramesh giving his one half his niche speech. I'm very curious about it because I'm on my leadership journey. And the things I'm discovering are very revealing. It's like making me understand or grow as a human being. 6 months ago, I got a chance to hear from Jensen Huang. Jensen Huang is the CEO of NVIDIA. He said one thing which would change my path. He said, storytelling is leadership, and leadership is storytelling. It took me some time to understand what he meant by it. And then the more he explained, I was able to understand. The one thing I realized is he shared his 3 secrets. His 3 secrets of speaking are he speaks with passion because of his love for the project or love for the company. The second thing is he really wants his audience to understand what he's trying to say. He has a genuine empathy for them. And the third thing, he's unscripted and speaks from the heart. I've seen him speak for 2 hours and I still want to listen to him. And that is something which is very different from I've seen from a lot of other speakers. So let's get this party started. Our timer for today is Shardul. Shardul, can you explain your timer's role, please?
Yes. Folks and fellow travelers on the path of leadership, welcome all of you to another exciting session of Universal Entrepreneur Toastmasters. I will be your timer for the day, and the role entails me to time basically your speeches. For now, today, since we have a keynote speech, which will last for more than, which will be about 30 minutes of time. So the time for it is slightly different. We have, just a sec, for the keynote speaker, 20 minutes is green, 25 is yellow, and 30 minutes is red. And then you have 5 minutes of grace period for that. That is followed up with table topics, which will have the standard 1 to 2 minute timing. So 1 is green, 1.5 is yellow, 2 is red. We have his evaluation, which will have again 3 minutes, starting off with 2 minutes green, 2:30 yellow, and 3 as red. And that's it for the timing and the time card details. The cards are shown green, yellow, and red. That's it. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Shardul. Our grammarian for today is Frederica. Frederica, can you share the word of the day and explain your role, please?
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I will start with the word of the day. Why am I right here? Hey. Oh, I cannot see the top. It's there? Yes, it's there.
Scroll up.
1 minute, let me scroll up.
Zoom
Right.
out.
Right, it's there. Using 2 devices. Okay, the word of the day, I will be your grammarian for the day, and my role is to monitor the use of the English language, look for the appropriate use and the inappropriate use, and provide some recommendations, which I will do when I'm called upon to give my report. As a grammarian, I'm also responsible for increasing your vocabulary, and therefore today we chose the word robust, meaning strong or healthy or rich. And the example I chose, which is an adjective, the example I chose was naturally one to do with Toastmasters. Toastmasters has a robust education program called Pathways. The man moving this huge boulder is indeed a robust man. So we're talking about strong, and we're talking about a rich education program. So you can make sure you incorporate the word of the day in your speeches, or whatever you do, and use that as you go throughout the week. Robust. That will increase your vocabulary. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much, Frederica, for that robust word of the day. Let me call upon our first speaker. Our first speaker is going to be Ramesh. His evaluator is Tosin. Tosin, can you share the purpose of Ramesh's speech?
Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Abhijit. Today, we have the pleasure of listening to distinguished Toastmaster Ramesh, who we all know is an excellent speaker. He's going to be delivering a speech titled Navigating Through Leadership Levels Today, and it is a keynote speech. Now, this particular project is actually from level 5 of the Innovative Planning Path, and it is called Prepare to Speak Professionally. The essence of this particular project is to have distinguished Toastmaster Ramesh present a keynote style speech to us, and it is expected that during his presentation, both the content and the delivery of his speech are compelling. In other words, we're expecting a robust content and robust delivery. So it is meant to be a keynote style speech. It's expected to use any format he wants, whether it's a humorous speech, whether it's a narrative speech, it's all up to him. He's also expected to show very competent presentation skills, and I am pretty sure he's going to deliver on this. The time, according to his evaluation sheet, is 18 to 22 minutes. So I would like the timer to confirm once more what the actual time for this project is.
For this current keynote, we have a different timing. So for this one, it is 30 minutes. 25. 20 is green, 25 is yellow, 30 is red. And then we have a grace period of 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, timer. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much, Tosin. Ramesh Devangan, navigating through various leadership levels. Navigating through various leadership levels, Ramesh Devangan.
By show of hands, do you want to be seen as a robust leader in life? Raise your hands and say yes. By show of hands, do you want to increase your influence in life? Raise your hands and say yes. Great. Imagine you're surrounded by people who know, like, and trust you. You are surrounded by people who you care for, you connect with. Would you like to hear how to do that? Great. I have 30 plus years of professional experience leading global teams worldwide. But my life has not been bed of roses. I have seen several ups and downs. And based on that, I have learned some lessons. Based on my experience, I will walk you through 4 levels of leadership journey with increasing influence. So you can be a top leader very soon in your life. What are those 4 levels? The first level is what is called positional leadership. This is where most people start. When you become first level manager, you perform based on position, the authority that comes with the title that you receive. The second level is what's called relationship-based leadership, where people follow because they want to follow you, because you have developed the relationship. You are connected with the people. The third level is called result-based relationship, where you are getting things done and your leadership is known for the results that you give to the organization. And fourth level of leadership is called reproduction, where you are not only just the leader of the organization, but you're growing leaders. You are making many more leaders for the organization. If there are more leaders, organization's missions are better fulfilled. So I'll walk you through these 4 levels of leadership along with my own experiences at each level. You're all ready for it? Great, thank you. Let's go to the first level, the positional level leadership. This is where most people begin. When you get the first title, when you become a manager, first level manager, you are ready to roar. You are ready to perform for the organization. But the more you use your title and position to get things done, the less the influence gets for it. People don't want to be really working for a leader who uses position or title as the tool to get things done. And there's nothing wrong with this leadership position, because this is where everyone has to begin, but don't hang on to it for a long time. I remember when I started my career, I was working for a multinational in India, and there was this first level manager that I reported to. And at that time, we had just one computer which was shared by a few of the employees. We didn't have all the computers arrive yet at the office. So we would queue up for the computer. So we were in the queue and I was waiting for almost an hour. And this manager comes and says, "Hey, I'm the manager. I need the first, I'm entitled to use this computer first." And he starts using it and then he goes off. And we were all stunned. I said, "Wait a minute. Why we were waiting for 1 hour? And why didn't he put his name in the queue?" So we did not have a whole lot of respect for that manager. And in fact, he had very little influence in running the organization. But this level is great for investing your time and effort for acquiring skills, to develop relationship, how to develop relationship. Use your time to lead yourself through priorities and self-discipline. Show people your integrity. Now let's go to the second level. The second level is relationship-based leader. People choose to follow because they want to. They give the leader permission to lead because leader has taken time to develop relationship. When I became manager, I made sure that I really care for people. In fact, 2 days ago, just 2 days ago, on LinkedIn, someone who reported to me back 15 years ago, he wrote a story on LinkedIn post. And he said that when he arrived in the US for the first time for a work assignment in our team, he said, "My manager came to receive me at the San Francisco airport. He said, Ramesh took me to his house. He had lunch there. And then he dropped me to the apartment that was assigned to him for stay during the work assignment." And he remembers that so vividly. And he said that incident had a great impact on him. He really developed that respect for the team and for the organization, and of course for me. So that is the kind of relationship you need to develop. That requires a lot of time and effort and getting out of comfort zone. I could have very well said, "Hey, why should I go to the airport to pick this guy? This guy has a responsibility to fly in, take a rental car or taxi and come to his apartment," right? But the small things that you do really goes a long way in developing relationship and maximizing the team performance. You begin to develop influence because people like you and value you. The trust grows, credibility grows, and environment becomes much more positive. At this level, you develop lasting relationships and create foundation for the next level, which is the results-based leadership. So what is results-based relationship? This is the third level of relationship, where you already have developed relationship, you already have people that are connected to you and care for you. But now it is time for organization to see that you can get results as well. There are several people, leaders, who are known not to produce results. Now that's not going to take the leadership far either. Right? They're great in, they just get the people together, this, that, but getting the projects complete on time with maximal impact is not their forte. That's not where you want to be. You have to get things done. Once you start getting things done for the organization, that elevates your influence and credibility. People follow you not because of only relationship, but because of your track record. I remember when I worked in Texas Instruments, chip design company, there was this leader who was known to produce the most state of art and really highest performance chips, and he was the design leader for that. Everyone looked towards, anytime the new chip was concept was to be designed, they would come to him because he is known for high performance chips. There was another guy who was so good in the software that he worked for that even senior vice president came to the person and asked for the direction on the products. That's really the kind of reputation you want to build. Not for yourself alone, but for the team. That this team is known for the best what they do. That really, really determines the credibility of your team and your leadership. When I was in a company called Atlanta, I launched 3 products in 1 year. People came to know me as the person who is great in product launches. So anytime there was a new product ideas, they will come to me and say, hey Ramesh, how did you do the product launches? We would like to learn from you. And I didn't do it all alone. It was a team that did it. It was a cross-functional team that I led that did that. So our team was known for its results. So at this level, leader understands the organizational goals and starts directing the team towards achieving them by creating great results. They do it by getting work done, improving morale of the team, increasing profits, and lowering turnover. One of the key benefit of this is that people want to stick with you for a long time. There is very less turnover and organization thrives. The final level is what I call reproduction level. Your job is just not to get yourself going and whole team going, but to be able to replace yourself one day, to grow leaders within your team or outside the team who can replace you one day. This is a very difficult concept. In fact, when I really got to understand this, before that I used to think, why would I train someone to replace me? I need my job. I was so insecure at that time. But a strong leader, a robust leader, doesn't really bother about that, because they know that once they have shown the leadership, once they have got the results done, once they have got people connected, once they have the respect of the people, they will get better opportunities. And how do you get better opportunity? Only by having someone who can take over your job. Many times I came to a situation where I said, why I'm not getting promotion. I went to my vice president and said, hey, I've been director for 6 years, and where is my promotion? And he would say, who will replace you? And I said, is that my responsibility? And he said, yes, it is your responsibility. You are the leader. So you should be really the one growing other leaders and be able to, have them take up the higher responsibility so you can proceed up. So at this level, your goal is to identify and develop as many leaders as you can by investing in them, helping them grow. Of course, it requires you to identify the right folks who are hungry, who are really desire to grow. The more the leaders, the better organization missions are accomplished. People will follow you because what you have done for them. So you need to invest in them as a high priority. I've seen several leaders, several of my colleagues, they were not interested in growing people, and their people will come to me and say, Ramesh, I like working for this person, but he is not thinking about my growth. Now that's not a good situation to be in. So now that I talked about 4 levels of leadership, now you might think, okay, so now how do I go about, Ramesh? It's great to know that there are 4 levels of leadership. Tell me some tips, So let me share my screen at this time, and I've got some tips for you all to go from one level to other. So am I allowed to share screen?
Yes.
Okay, just hold on. Let me make sure that I'm on the right screen. Okay. So here is a screen. So if you see, what I have done is I have created a checklist for moving for each levels. First of all, you need to determine which level you are, right? So if you think you are at level 1 or close to level 1, and you want to move to more relationship based, from positional to relationship based, then here are some 10 points that you can assess yourself against and see what your growth areas are. And if any one of these things are not really something that you're good at, then you should mark them as your growth areas. So I have given 10 points in the checklist for each of the levels to grow. So from 1 to 2 I've got 10 points, 2 to 3 I've got 10 points. So after going from level 1 to level 2, you have to really, I'm not going to touch on all 10 because I might run out of time. So let me just highlight few of them. And I'll give this information to you for your ongoing reference. So do you think of each member as individual, not in terms of the function or role they perform? So, I went to several meetings and I'll talk to the manager and say, hey, who is this person who does this work for me? Oh yeah, I have a spice expert. You can talk to my spice expert. I say spice was a software tool. I'm saying spice expert. Okay, who is this person? Tell me more. Do you know more about the person, or do you know only him as a spice expert? Right. So you, as a leader, you need to know the person as a person. What is he, what or she, not as titles or their expertise. Right? So how do you refer your team members? That itself is a good criteria for whether you are positional or your relationship based. Other thing to assess is people who work for me are willing to do work above and beyond their job description. This is a great indicator whether you are in positional level or relationship level. See, positional level, people will perform based on their boundaries that is described by their job description. And if leader says, hey, I need this extra work done and it has to be done today, they'll say, sorry, I got 5 o'clock this meeting to do or something else to do. They won't really agree to it because they really have this transactional relationship with the leader. You have title, you have authority, I have got my own job boundaries, I will stick to it. You tell me to do, I will do it. Don't tell me to do anything beyond that, because they don't have that trust and credibility as a relationship-based leader. So biggest indicator of whether you are in level 1 and how to reach level 2 is to make sure that people are willing to do things beyond their job descriptions. Once you start getting that done, then you know that you're developing a relationship. I remember in our software launches, when it came really very near launch, I had people working until midnight, and not because they were forced to, because they really wanted the product launch next day, and they were working and they really wanted to make sure that they're doing the right thing for the product launch. Of course, I was there as well, because you have to lead by example, and I was also helping them out. So if people are willing to do beyond their work boundaries, then you're already developed a relationship and you might be at level 2. Right? Other thing is that if I ask you as a leader, what is your primary objective? Is it really to get work done or to show to people that you guys are doing a lot of work, or is it really to assist the people that you work for, who work for you? If you think that you are there to assist people, then you are already in level 2. And if you don't think, then that's your growth area. That you need to develop that attitude or mindset. Leaders are there to assist the team members, not to do the work. In fact, I do consulting, one-on-one consulting with many leaders, first-time managers. And one of the biggest concern they have is, if I assist people, if I really get them to do what I have been good at, then wouldn't my job be in jeopardy? Wouldn't I mean, they are so insecure because they have been really used to doing things so well on some specific area, and now they have become manager. And now they have to really train someone else to do what they were doing. And they don't really want to let go of that expertise. That means that they are in positional level. They really are not relationship based, because if you are going to relationship based, you got to empower, you got to really delegate the work to others so that they get trained and they can really do the things that you have been good at. Another thing to say, most people find it easy to work with me. Find out, and it's not something that you can ask directly, but do some survey or ask someone else of repute who can tell you whether people really find it easy to work with you, or is it they find it difficult to work with you. If they find it difficult, that means you're in more like positional level. Right. So here are some 10 points that you may want to assess yourself and identify some growth areas to move from positional to relationship based. Now let's look at the next level. Going from level 3 to 4, you need to, here are some 10 points again. You consistently hit targets and goals in your work. Okay. So as I said, there are some leaders who are good in people skills. They're great people managers, but they don't hit targets and goals in the work. Projects are delayed. So that means they're not results driven. They are just relationship based. So that means you haven't reached the level 3. You are still at level 2. People see you as an expert in field and seek out to learn from me. Okay, that is another thing that you may want to see, whether you are seen as expert and they seek out to learn from you. That is very important. I give my best to whatever I do. Do you? Do you give your best to whatever you do, or in terms of work and the results, work results? If there is some commitment you make and you don't follow through, then it's a problem. Right? I remember in my workplace, I had a great manager who really was great at people management, people skills. Everybody wanted to work for him because he was such a nice guy. And one day there was a reorg in the organization, and he was removed from the position, and one of the person who reported to that manager became his manager overnight. And we were shocked. We said, how can that be? This guy has been the manager and we know him. He's such a good guy. He was really good to all the people. What happened? How come there is somebody who got promoted? We say, oh, this is huge politics, right? That's what we thought. But later we came to know, and our senior manager explained to us that they were not getting the project completed on time. The chips that were supposed to be out in the market got delayed by a month, and that was a holiday time. So the company missed a huge target in terms of revenue. Whereas the person who the promoted is the most business-like, results-driven person. Although he is also people person, but may not be as good as the person, but results is what company looks for. So that happens, and it can be very, very deadly for your career if you don't hit the targets. Right? Your consistency is extremely important to get the results done. Okay. Are you consistent? Are you really following through all your commitments? Are you really prioritizing things well enough so that you can be consistent about your results? Last thing is, I have systems and routines that help me perform at high level. You got to have the right tools, processes, techniques, systems in place to perform at high level, right, to get the results done. For example, are you well personally organized? Are you using project management tools? Are you using a to-do list? Are you using calendar properly? Are you using team meetings well? Are you communicating well? I mean, all those needs to have the right processes so that you can perform at high level and team can perform at high level and you can get results done. Once again, go through this checklist and see what your growth areas are to move from 3 to 4. Yeah. Okay. Now next is to go, sorry, that was for 2 to 3. I misspoke. Now going from the results driven to reproduction level. Now this is where you really need to grow leaders, right? So you have to really be invested in training and development of all team members consistently. Do you schedule and follow through the training and development of team members? Do you spend significant time every month mentoring up and coming leaders? Are people coming to you to ask, hey, I need advice as to how do I, grow further, or how do I keep making improvements? And you need to be continually giving feedback to people, not just doing formal reviews. So this is interesting. In my work, in my leadership all along, performance reviews used to be like a chit-chat session, actually. Because that is more like a recap of all the things that you should be talking almost on a continuous basis, right? Every month we were having one-on-ones, I was giving feedback and they were giving feedback, and we were completely aligned. And there comes the performance review time. And HR says you got to spend at least 1 hour in performance review. And I'm saying, what is that 1 hour? What is that needed for? Because we already know. I've already provided feedback and they also know what my feedback was. So we used to sit in the performance review and just recap or chit chat about, our personal lives and things like that. We don't really have to spend. That is what you need to strive for. You need to be giving feedback so frequently that the formal reviews are just formality, not really needed. If you do that, then you're already at the level 4, where you're growing leaders because you're connected, you're giving feedback about how to grow. And team or department is considered by, this is another thing, what is the reputation of your team? Are people seeing you as the team that really is growing well and leaders are growing in that team? Okay, that's very easy to find, and people will give you feedback about that. And if they are seen that way, that means you're already at level 4. Again, these are the 10 points that you may want to identify your growth areas if you want to become at the level 4. So a lot of these things that I do, I've talked about, I've captured in and I developed a 6-week course, a leadership bootcamp course. And my next batch of this course is starting on 17th February at 6 p.m. It's a weekly 2-hour classes. And I go through a very structured way of how do you develop these skills to grow up in your levels. And I have already completed a batch last year, and already there are about 8 people who have benefited very greatly with this, and they have very good feedback. So I'm looking forward to help others or have this benefit go across wider population. So if you are interested in whatever I have talked so far, feel free to look at this URL that I provided here, and you may want to get in touch with me. I hope this was very useful, and back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Ramesh. Ramesh, I learned so much. It was eye-opening. I was so excited about your talk that I also forgot to introduce you. Actually, Ramesh is the CEO of Quantum Vision Consulting. He's a founder of that consulting firm also. Ramesh, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. I think we can all apply in our lives, and we can also check with ourselves where we are at and what we need to do to get to that level. Everyone, please take a minute to give feedback to Ramesh.
Let me stop sharing.
We will now move on to our next section of our meeting. Let me call upon our table topics master, Pushpak. Pushpak, it's all you.
Hello, dear Toastmasters. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to a great session. I know we all talk about leaders all the time. Abhijit keeps bringing up how leadership qualities should be good storyteller, leadership should lead by example. Let's talk about that a bit more. So first, I'll go with Ravi, I guess. So every person is a leader. Leadership is an action, not a position. Every person is a leader. Leadership is an action, not a position. Could you please tell me your first leadership experience?
You asked me?
No. Ravi.
Ravi, sorry. Okay.
Oh, Ramesh.
Yes.
It was Ravi.
Leadership is an action and not a position. Such a nice question. It is true that we all get positions after we take actions. We generally get promoted to a leader once we show the capability of being a leader and once we are already doing the job. Now, my experience of being a action leader has been many things, like mostly this happens in bring ups and in lab where I take charge of bring up and leadership action oriented things. And my first experience happened when I was a kid in my 10th grade. My teacher gave me a job of organizing an event and he left. But after he left, everybody left, but I was there doing it and I finished that. And that was one of the reasons. He came back and said, oh, you'll be a good leader and things like that. That made me realize what is really a leadership and how is it action oriented and non-position oriented. Thank you. Back to you.
Great. That is awesome. Thank you, Ravi. So next is Shalendra. So leaders lead by example, right? Leaders lead by example. Can you give me an example of when you led by example?
Thank you, Table Topic Master, for this wonderful topic. So I had a privilege of being the eldest son in my family, and I've got 3 siblings. So most of the time I was taught that you need to work in a manner where it will leave a good influence on my siblings. And that's where whenever I used to do anything, I need to think of those siblings there. So during my studies, although I didn't like studying in the initial years, but then every time I was thinking that maybe if I don't do it properly, then it may not leave a good influence on my maybe sister or younger brothers. So that's how I did it. Every time I used to, become a little emotional, wanted to show my expression, then I used to think that it may not leave a good impression on them. So many of the time I was not living in a manner the way I wanted to do it. And later on, then I realized that it's a little different. It's not how it works, because ultimately the siblings will grow and then they will start living their own life. And that's when I came into the college, and then I started doing the things differently. So until that time, I used to lead by example. I used to, tell my siblings that this is how you need to work on. Yeah, and I think I'm proud that they were doing fine. So somewhere I think they learned a few things from me, although it leaves a little pressure on the siblings, because ultimately they have to follow me. So that's something which may not be a desirable thing for them. But yeah, I think it's ultimately good that it ended well. So yeah, that was all. Thank you.
What a great story. Thank you, Salendra. So my friend Nag. So robust leaders are dreamers. They have great vision. And when they talk passionately about their dreams, people get excited about it and they want to be a part of it, right? So leaders are dreamers and they have great vision. And when they talk about it, people get excited and they want to be a part of that great dream. So let's say you are assigned as a head of NASA. What would be your first speech?
A tiny step we take today is a big step for the whole mankind. Getting inspired by JFK's speech in 1960s when they put the first step in the moon. I inspire everybody to take tiny steps every day so that the whole humankind goes forward. Next generations gets inspiration from us. Even though the government funding for our NASA has reduced quite a bit, we want to advance the science for space exploration so that the technology we develop can be used here on Earth for various good reasons. As a humankind, we want to advance the science, and we are world's greatest company with world's greatest scientists. No one else can do it. We have to advance the technology. If it is AI, chip design, as Ramesh mentioned, anything and everything starts from here. Big innovations in the past started from NASA. So I inspire you and empower you. You can come and knock on my door anytime you want. And I am with you. Let's do it together. Thank you.
That's great. Let's do it together. And my friend Nag would always bring chip design into any speech. So that was a great, good speech. Thank you for that. So now, Jamal. So our Toastmaster of the day keeps talking about storytelling, right? So a great characteristic of a great, robust leader is storytelling. So storytelling is really, really important in leadership. Can you tell me a story of a leader you admire?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. Storytelling is leadership, and leadership is storytelling. And Abhijit did rightly say about it. And I heard that speech too. And it was amazing to hear that. Yes. Why storytelling is leadership? And your question is, tell me a story about a great leader that I admire, right? It's just that when they tell the story, they are telling that they are not perfect. I have seen leaders that are very humble. And when I see a very humble leader, that gives me a lot of joy because I can be also like that leader. For example, the leader right now that I am following is Abhijit. And you ask me why? Because I'm also in this spiritual journey right now. And what I have seen is the growth he has put in by believing in himself. That inspires me to believe in myself. And I came from a culture where I look outside to cure me inside. When he shifted it and told me, no, look inside to cure myself. So basically all the answers are within me. So that kind of, when a leader says things like that and it aligns with the journey that I'm going through, I definitely like to learn more, because what I see in him is he is also creating other leaders as well. And that inspires me to create other leaders and also mentor people. I was the person who was more about surface level connection, but I never knew what a deep connection would provide until I came to know about Abhijit. So definitely, I would say one of the inspiring things that has happened after this lockdown was learning to deeply connect with people and have relationship and understand people at the level that they are and see how I can help to transform or change them and help them with the journey that they're going through. So thank you for this question.
That is a great story. Look inside to cure yourself. That is awesome. So I'll try to do that, and I'll also learn from all of you. I'm learning from all of you. One last one. I don't know if Ru is on. Probably not. So, all right. So I'll pick our Toastmaster of the day. So I would love to hear something from him. I know I should not have, but anyway. So leadership all about learning from experiences, right? The leaders always learn from their experiences and they grow as a leader. Can you tell me a time when you learned the best leadership experience?
I'm getting a chance to work with Pat Johnson. Pat Johnson is past president of Toastmasters. Last week, we are working with a club, Extreme Networks. The club was not meeting for 5 months. And when she was there with Extreme Networks employees, I was amazed how she carried herself. She was so convincing, and her words were so sharp, and they had so much of weightage that the people at Extreme Networks realized that they were not following the pathways. And Toastmaster is all about pathways. The way she convinced it and the way she took out the whip was something I would like to learn, because she was not very using her position, but she was using the words in a way that made the difference. She was soft, persistent, and hard. And that is something which I love to learn from her. And I want to embody that as I grow into bigger shoes. Back to you, Pushpak.
It is always wonderful to listen to you. That's why I picked you. Thank you so much for that. So I think I'm done. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Pushpak. Thank you, Pushpak. You made us think with your questions. I really appreciated those. And it also helped us understand various stories of our fellow Toastmasters. Let's move on to our next question or next section. Let me call upon Tosin to share the evaluation for Ramesh. Tosin? Tosin, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now? All right. Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the Day. I'd like to say a big thank you to distinguished Toastmaster Ramesh for giving us a wonderful masterclass as always. Please, let's just take a few seconds to put our hands together for him. Thank you very much, sir. So, personally, the first thing that caught my attention about your speech was how you started off, and that was with the questions. You didn't just ask questions, you actually asked us to raise our hands. And if anything, that grabbed our attention. It was sort of a wake-up call, sort of saying, whatever you're doing, come here now. I have something to tell you. And I think it worked perfectly well. At least it did for me. You went on to tell us about personal stories, personal experiences in actually introducing the various levels of leadership to us. And I thought that was very effective in the sense that it actually tells us that you know what you're talking about. You've experienced what you're talking about. In this day and age where everyone wants to be a coach, everyone wants to teach something, it's difficult sometimes to tell who really knows what they're talking about because everyone can go on the internet to get information. But I think your use of personal stories actually did add some credibility to your lessons today. So thank you very much for using that. But still around the issue of stories, I'd like to recommend that you also try to find a way to incorporate stories that maybe are commonplace, stories that everyone can easily refer to, stories that maybe come from things like pop culture, maybe movies, icons that everyone recognizes. That way, I think it will be slightly more memorable for everyone and also quite relatable. It would be an experience that everyone has shared, so it would be much easier for you to pass your point across. I also thought you could have actually used your slides up from, like right from the point you were actually introducing the various levels of leadership to us. You first chose to introduce the 4 different levels, and then it was at the point you wanted to tell us how to transition from one level to the other that you decided to start using the slides. I think the slides would have been useful from the get-go. And still about the slides, I observed a few things about them. So the first observation was, I noticed that they were a bit wordy. You had about 10 points for each of them. And personally, I thought that was a bit much. And I think that was obvious in the fact that even you weren't able to touch on each of them. So my recommendation there would be just think, you could try to make it more concise. Think of, the points that are most important to the point you're trying to make and leave that on your slides. I also thought you could have used more pictures as opposed to words. There's a saying, a picture speaks 1,000 words. And I think you would have achieved what you were trying to go for with pictures today. Another suggestion would be the use of comic strips, especially in trying to, relate what people, could do at the workplace and things like that. Comic strips would strike your point immediately and in much less time. So that's a recommendation as regards your slides. I also thought I would have loved to hear a bit more challenges as regards each level. What challenges do people face across each level, of leadership, and how can they tackle them? You did mention the benefits though, which was wonderful. I loved that. Then I also couldn't help but notice the interruption of your alarm twice. I was actually going to let this go after I heard it the first time. But when I heard it the second time, I said, well, I think I have to mention it. So just because you're planning to be very professional and also you're a distinguished Toastmaster, so I'm holding you to very high standards, basically. So I think as much as possible, would prefer not to have interruptions or distractions in the future. But that being said, I loved your sense of humor, especially when you were talking about the reproduction leadership. And I would actually want to challenge you to try to sprinkle more humor across your speech. I thought that was wonderful. It has a way of just warming up your audience and helping everyone enjoy the speech better. I also thought your speech was well thought out and well organized, from first of all, explaining the different levels to us and then going on to tell us how to transition. I thought that was wonderful. And finally, your call to action. Never tell a speech like that without a call to action, and you gave us one at the very end. Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Ramesh. I believe we all took a lot from your keynote speech today. Thank you.
Thank you, Tosin. Thank you for sharing your evaluation with us.
Over to you.
Thank you, Tosin. We'll now move on to round robin evaluation. The thing with round robin is we'll not repeat the evaluation which Tosin has given. If you have something which can add value to Ramesh, please share with us. Let me call upon Jamal.
Thank you, Ramesh, for this excellent speech. Levels of leadership. This reminds me about all the different levels. And this reminds me that I should go learn more about it, because in my organization, there is a lot of leaders. And now I understand where each one is placed and the difference between them. What I would like is a little bit more of your personal story as to how you went from level 0 to level 1. And how long did it take for you to go from level 1 to level 2? Or what is it? Or something where I am learning from level 0 itself to become level 4. What is the thing that I should go on? I have seen most people retiring at level 1 itself, mainly because they didn't have a good level 2 leader. So if you could share with us some of that experience so that we know that our final destination is not level 1, but it is level 4. So we are inspired and be able to move that way. So that'll be like really good to hear from you, because you have gone through all the levels. So it'll be really good to hear from you about that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jamal. Ravi?
Thank you, Abhijit. Ramesh, I appreciate you on giving such a long speech without notes, and you hardly looked at the notes. That is really wonderful. You hardly had filler words and repetitions, which often happen when you are not fully prepared or you haven't had a script. But I really appreciate you going through these 30 minutes without, as if it's like a 7 minutes speech. Now, few tips on things. One is, if you arranged all the 4 points in the same way, it would be very easy to remember. For example, in your case, all 4 of them have a personal story. Some of them has an external story. Some of them have a quote. So if you rearrange them all 4 with the same, like, first point, I'll go with a story, then a quote, then a personal experience. If you rearrange them, our brain is very easy to remember them. You don't need to remember the format then. That is one technique that I learned. And I actually loved how you did not use the slides and only provided the slides in the end as a summary. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ravi. Nagraj?
Yeah, thank you, Ramesh, for a wonderful leadership jolt for the weekend for us, much needed one for us to get reminded to how to advance in our career and also personal life. I was wondering, out of this, your journey of level 0 to level 4, life lessons is something I'm passionate about. I know these are the points at the lower level of execution, but at a higher level, what are the life lessons we should think of, right? When I think of something, for example, like, let's say in a day-to-day activity, if you look at any problem, if you compare it with the bigger problem, that problem becomes very small and you execute in a much better, efficient way. That is one of the life lessons I learned. I was thinking about, right? So as like your 30, 40 years experience, what are the life lessons which are bigger than these execution focused lessons, right? That would be something I would like to add. Like at a CEO level, your CEO will not talk about the gears, how the gears work, right? The vision of the car, right? That kind of thing. Yeah, something you can add.
Thank you so much, Nagraj. Frederica?
Thank you, Ramesh, for your thought-provoking speech. It was very relevant. And if it's relevant to me, I think it's relevant to all of us who might be either in the middle or the advanced stage of leadership or becoming leaders. What I like, you were very comfortable with delivering that speech. So that means it was coming from the heart. From the time you started the speech, what came to me? What level are you at? So I was waiting for the 4 levels. But what you could have done a little more is engage us. Give us that question. What level are you at in your leadership? And that would jolt us a little more. So I now know where I stand. Thanks again. I love your clarity. I love the way you're comfortable with it. Well done presentation, very relevant. And I always look forward to all your other speeches. Thanks, Ramesh.
Thank you. Venkat?
Hey, Abhijit, thanks. Ramesh, that was a great speech. I really admired all the points about leadership, how you shared. The only thing I wanted to hear more was about the replacement, which is a great point you brought in, but I didn't follow exactly what you have done in your career, how you groomed next level people to replace you. I think that would have been even more valuable for us to learn if you touched upon that a little bit more in detail. Otherwise, it was a great, fantastic speech. I really learned quite a bit from this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Venkat. Pushpak?
Thank you. Again, I think I echo what Venkat said. I think I'm in a level 3. So I deliver result. I lead people, their friends, like I build relationship, but I've never thought of building that 4th level, like reproducing the other leaders. And that I need to focus on, I guess. And I think you talked about how to groom level 1 and to level 2 and level 2 to level 3, and you didn't touch on that level 4. Probably it's in your boot camp, and that's what you need to go there. So yeah, I would have loved to learn a little more about how you reproduce leaders in your organization or in your career, and probably in the next session I would love to learn that. But it was a great speech and I can completely relate to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pushpak. Abdul?
Hello.
Yes. Abdul, we cannot hear you. You are muted.
You're muted.
Sorry for this. Actually, I came in middle of the meeting. Okay. I was traveling. Yeah.
No,
so
no worries.
What I heard is like all about the Ramesh, and it was good to hear. And yeah. So what I observed, like the level of meetings, right? And that's all.
Thank you so much, Abdul. Let me call upon our timer to share the report. Shardul?
Okay, thank you, Abhi. It was a very nice session today. I really loved it. And to time it all, the speakers, let me rephrase, the keynote speaker and the table topics were well within the timing that was discussed. For Ramesh, the time was 26 minutes and 30 seconds. So he was in the yellow part of his speech. For the table topics, it was starting off with the first speaker, Ravi. It was 1 minute 14 seconds. For Shailendra, it was 1 minute 55 seconds. For Nagaraj, it was 1 minute 1 second. For Jaimol, it was 2 minutes 25 seconds. So still within the grace periods of 30 seconds after 2 minutes. And the last table topic speaker was Abhi, whose speech was in 55 seconds. Then we move on to the evaluator, Tosin, who did his evaluation in 4 minutes 27 seconds. Now I know the normal evaluation time is less, but for a keynote speech of this much length, the duration of evaluation should be more, is what I think, because the points were really good. Then we move on to the round robin section where each of us spoke. Then over there, Jaimol had 1 minute 2 seconds. Ravi had 1 minute 11 seconds. Nagaraj had 1 minute 10 seconds. Frederica spoke for 1 minute. Venkat spoke for 30 seconds. Pushpak spoke for 32 seconds. And Abdul spoke for 28 seconds, discounting his initial part where he wasn't able to connect. That's it.
Thank you so much, Shardul. Let me call upon our grammarian, Frederica, to share her robust report. Frederica.
That makes it 5. Thanks, Mr. Toastmaster of the day. The robust speakers made my job very easy today. I heard the word robust used about 5 times, and I know it could have been used more with the table topic speakers. We had one of the best. You know, Ramesh gave this long speech. So therefore, it made my job very easy. I don't have anything to report, but yet I have some.
Frederica, you
muted yourself.
Yeah. Okay. People don't want to work for people who use their position to lead. Another one was show people your integrity. And one, consistency. Consistency is very important to get the job done. So we have these great takeaways. That's all I have for you. Thanks, Azia Gromeria. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much, Frederica. Ramesh, how was your experience listening to feedback from people?
Extremely valuable. All I can say, it's like this very, very, very highly valuable. So I meditated, very nice feedback, very detailed, and completely agree with the points. Basically, I did like a master class kind of thing Thursday evening, just about 36 hours ago. And I went through some of the things that you said I should have added here. I added there, like my life journey and also this lessons learned as a life. I touched on that as well on that day. That's okay. That's great feedback. And I got conflicting feedback regarding slides. Tosin said that I should have shown the slides right from the beginning, whereas Ravi liked the fact that I didn't use slides and I only showed at the end. So I'll have to think about, I'll have to synthesize the
Yes.
inputs and do the right thing next time. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Ramesh, I have the solution for that. That
Yeah.
is OBS. So when you're using OBS, you can use one sentence here. You're not showing the slide, but you're using the space besides you.
You
So
need a
that-
green screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. We know we can enable you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to learn about that.
Yeah, we will show you, because OBS will take your presentations to the next level. Because you just have to show one word and a picture, and it creates so much of impact.
Oh, okay.
I'll send you some details about it, and that will be helpful.
Love to.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone, for this wonderful meeting. Thank you, Ramesh, for educating us and helping us to step up or level up our leadership. Thank you, Pushpak, for the table topics. I really appreciated our grammarian and the timer support. Let me give it back to our presiding officer, Frederica. It's all you.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the day, for a job well done. Thank you to all my speakers, both table topics and Ramesh. This meeting was so exciting. We learned a lot. It was levels of leadership. Please question yourself, even Ramesh did not ask us, what level are you at and where do you want to go? I can now leave here knowing where I am. I'm Ramesh, I'm on 4. So I am way ahead, ready to leave a group of leaders behind, right? And that's what I'm doing now, grooming leaders. I saw Venkat had a question there. I'm not sure if he left. Yeah, Venkat is still there. He was asking, what is the round robin section about? Abby, give him some insight on that one.
So round robin section is we can get collective feedback from each and every member. Because when you have a longer speech, sometimes we cannot cover everything in one evaluation, and everyone has some wisdom. So that's why we get a chance to get that wisdom out from each and every person.
Yeah, I got that. Thank you. I followed it.
Perfect. Back to you, Frederica.
And that was very exciting. We should do that much more, especially people like Ramesh who have to present these speeches. And that's what I see them do in District 71. When they have to give a speech, they have that round robin. That's where I learned about round robin. They have that, and these people go, and when you hear this speech, is a different speech. So Ramesh, I am sure you're going to put everything into place, and your speech will be a much better one in the end. Engage your audience. I was at the area meeting on this week, Shadul, and one question for you. Are we having a club contest?
Yes. So the theme for this week, this month ahead is as follows. Since the contests are for international speech, so for 7 minutes, and evaluation contest, we have these contests scheduled at the end of the month. So on the date is on the 26th, we have our contest planned. There I should send out the invites and also get to know who are the participants there. I shall do that today. The second part is we have an evaluation session. So Abhijit had some time back in another event had given a speech on how to craft your speeches. In next week, we have one of his addresses on how to do evaluations. So next we have a session on evaluations. So that way, just prior to the, or at least a week prior to, 2 weeks prior to this contest, we have some inputs on how we should craft our speeches. The third week in February, we have a regular session where we will have the theme as the answer is always yes. So, but that's a regular session without with 2 speakers and a pitch. So that's the theme. So to answer your question, contest at the end of the month, and next week we have evaluation workshop so that we can prepare for the contest.
Just to give you some advice, it's at the end of the month, but now that you have everybody here towards the end of the meeting, I think that's the best way to see if you get a consensus who is willing to, because you have to put your functionaries in place, and I don't want you to be rushing. Guess through, it was nice having you. And I can now say that that meeting has been brought to an end. Let Shadul do what he has to do now. Thanks for coming, everybody. See you again next week. Know where you are in your level of leadership. Thanks.